Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Sunday morning to you all. I hope you're all okay. Hope you're all right. Hope you're all looking after yourselves. Apologies that I'm actually 4 minutes late. That's unbelievable. So apologies for that. But thanks very much for waiting. And yeah, in this video, we're going to be talking about Eberechi Eze, a potential revelation surrounding the breakdown of the Eberechi Eze deal. Also, on top of that, a little bit of a chat surrounding Palhinha, and it feels like the situation at the moment is that his value is plummeting. You'll see what I mean when I get there. Don't you worry. Let's jump in and talk. I've missed a few comments. Monya, Sonia, Gonza, D's, Dragon, David, how are we all? Let's jump in. Let's start with a little bit of the Eze flavored news again. So obviously, if you've not been following along to the saga of all the Eberechi Eze situation, supposedly because Paul O'Keefe has said that Crystal Palace will be willing to accept 3 installments of approximately about £20 million for Eberechi Eze. They're no longer holding out for the majority of his reported 68 million release clause. Now, on this side of things, Sofian, J-Mac, Marshall, how are we all? So look, it's a £68 million deal. The idea is that it's 60 million plus an 8 million in add-ons. 68 million, okay? So with that being said, the release clause had sort of been written up in such a way that the money up front was an alarming amount. It's a large amount of money, right? So I always said, look, if you wanted to get Eze, you need to come to the negotiation table early before they sell other players. So they're probably more willing to do you a deal. Whereas if you leave it too late, they will not do you a deal. Simple as that, right? I don't think I'm saying anything outrageous or alarming there. I'm not blowing anyone's mind, right? And this is the thing that I was talking about, because instead of paying, 1 year of, let's say, 50 million and the second year 10 million, you can stretch this out. So when it comes to, financial fair play, it comes to PSR, it comes to Spurs and their cash flow, it's way more affordable. And this is what we've always talked about. Now, look, it's still a lot of money. I know that we talk about football clubs who turn over hundreds of millions of pounds. It's still an expensive deal. It'd be end up being our record deal when all things considered, right? He'd be fantastic. I do believe he would do very well at Spurs. I know there's a weird Twitter brigade at the moment that are very much pushing the Kudus agenda. But I try not to listen to anything from Twitter, to be honest. It's an alarmingly awful place, to be honest. But in my opinion, this guy is ready-made, ready to rock and roll. I obviously realize that it's a lot of money. I realize that. I'm not going to shy away from that. But we are a team that he would suit. He would do well in the Frank system, in my opinion. The Frank system, especially when he would do, let's say the 3-5-2 or that kind of vibe. It's not far off at times what Glasner's done occasionally at Palace. Quite often a 3-back and all that being said. So he would do well. I know he would. It's just the cost of the deal, but it is way more feasible now. It's way more affordable. 20 million a year for the 3 years. Obviously, the add-ons are the add-ons. I've always sort of said with add-ons, you want to pay them. Clubs want to pay those add-ons because it means the player or the club has had a lot of success, right? I always use the Morgan Gibbs-White deal from Wolves to Forest, and half of it was a 45 million pound deal, but just over half of it was the actual transfer. The rest is all add-ons. And I even said, yeah, but if Nottingham Forest end up having to pay all of those add-ons, that's great news for them. They want to pay that. It means they've had success. So it's the same with this, with Eze. We'd want to pay those extra 8 million. Maybe not some people at Tottenham Hotspur, but for the most part, you'd want to pay it. It means there's success. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on Eze. I think there's more to this. I think this will resurface. I think it will definitely be something that rumbles on maybe a little bit longer as well. So, it's got a bit of breeze come through the window. That's if you obviously some of you may not be in England. It's been very hot in England the last couple of days. If I get hit by any breeze, it's great news. It's great news. Do you think we'd start to open talks to sign Eze? I think there's already been talks. I do. Thanks for interest, mate. First week at work was good, mate. I appreciate that. It was good. We'll get Eze. Levy will spend the 65 million on kids. The transfer policy of the club is always to buy young. We want Oliver Skip. It'll be Eze or Simmons, not both. No, I don't think it'll be Eze and Simmons. You know, if you think Eze is 68 million, Simmons is 75-ish. Spurs aren't spending over 140 million on two players. I've always said you get one player, that's the marquee, and then it's, that tier below sort of player in terms of, value and quality. That's normally what happens. Look at last summer, obviously Solanke's the marquee signing, and then it's just a bunch of youth players. So that's no different. It's absolutely no different. It's raining in Ireland. Oh, I think there was supposedly a storm here last night. Supposedly. I could be lied to about that, to be honest. Don't take me as the weatherman. I've got the green sign up, so I could have a green screen to do the weather. As you can see over here in Ireland, it's wet, as always. Who do I like more, Mikey Moore or Eze? Eze. Eze must sign. How as well? Similar profiles. We need Eze. Literally, what a surprise. I talk about Eze and Hansy's actually making the live. What is Liverpool doing? They're getting all the marquee signings. Well, look, Liverpool are making some very, very, shrewd signings. Frimpong is a good player. Defensively, I think you can get at him, but he's a very good player, especially attacking wise. And if you're losing Trent's attacking ability, you kind of need something. Kirkes, really good left back. Wirtz obviously is a big signing, but again with Wirtz, they're paying about 20 million a year for 5 years. So it's not outrageous. It's not outrageous, but if I'm honest, there's always a part of you that goes, yeah, but would they do it still? Would they do it still? So there's that on Eze. On Palhinha, there's a couple of things that I wanted to sort of talk about on Palhinha, because we have been linked to Palhinha for a little while over this summer, right? And there's actually a few bits. So we've got Manchester United are monitoring the Palhinha situation. That's from Ekram Kanori caught offside. Fulham are interested in bringing him back. I think that was from the Mail Sport. There's Abala, not sure who that is. But they got a couple 100,000 followers on Twitter. Fair play, okay. But they've said that Palhinha is determined to step by next season. A possible return to Fulham has been completely ruled out by the midfielder. But the Mail have said, it was the Mail that said about Palhinha. But Sport Build saying that Palhinha is considering leaving Bayern Munich. So there's a lot of flip-flopping on information on this. And he's interested in returning to the Premier League. Bayern would want around 25 million. It's kind of mental, really, how much that deal has gone that wrong. Like, they go from 50-odd million pounds, right, to 25 in the space of a year. That is alarming. That's alarming. How much his value has fallen that much. I know he wasn't good last season. Palhinha. I know he struggled, but I've sort of said, and that's why I said about Palhinha in Ange's system, he wouldn't have worked because he'd have to cover large areas of the pitch, and he wouldn't have the pace or legs to do it, in my opinion. But in maybe a Thomas Frank system where you defend a little bit deeper, he would make a bit more sense. Now, is it the one that I want? No, I think there are probably better midfielders out there. And I'm always worried that the fact that guy's going to turn 30 soon. And look, the whole thing about Premier League sides and why they struggle to sell players for the most part. Obviously, like when you're selling like the best players to other great teams, it's easier because other great teams have money. But for the most part, teams struggle to move off of players because they can offer great wages. Premier League sides do, okay? And I know some people might get really annoyed by that because they'll go, "Oh, Spurs don't." It's like the Spurs offer good wages. They do, right? Could they offer more? Yes, they could. Absolutely. But they offer good wages. I mean, look, if someone goes to me, here's 80 grand a week to play football in the Premier League, I'd go, yeah, absolutely. You know, knock off a couple of zeros and I'd probably play it, So it is good money. But the issue is then when you try and sell that player into Europe, the Liga and the Bundesliga, Serie A or La Liga, if it's not to the main players, the big boys like Bayern or Real Madrid or a Barca, you're not gonna have any good times with that because those other teams can go, well, we can only just about afford the wages that we're gonna need to give them. We can't offer you a transfer fee as well. I mean, think about who's a good example? Who's a good example? This feels like a wrong example, but it's the only one that's in my head is Tanguy and Ndombele when we were trying to loan him out. We were having to pay like 80% of his wages just to get him gone because other teams couldn't afford his wages. And they would have been paying, 40 to 60 grand a week. We were still paying, 140, 160 grand a week. So yeah, I think you got to be careful. And then when it comes to like the older players, obviously when they get a bit older, like Casemiro right now, yeah, he's on 300 odd grand a week. He's in his 30s. His legs look fairly gone. Who can afford to take that player off your hands? That is like the MLS. The MLS isn't there with the transfer fees to take players off your hands. They might do it for wages, but not for those wages at least. But they do it for some wages. They're not doing it for the transfer fees. Saudi, yeah, but Spurs haven't really done any business. Spurs have done no business with Saudi. I think people are over egging the Saudi thing now. Like, I think Saudi have shifted a little bit away from, 34, 35-year-olds and older. I mean, they're looking at Grady Diangana from West Brom. There's some other young winger they're looking at as well. Signing obviously the Gabri Vega one, but they're trying to get into the idea of stop buying your pensioners in football terms. Buy some people that can give you bang for your buck, So, yeah, I don't think you'd be able to get him moved on. Like I say, he's 30. Let's say he gave you 2 really good years. I don't think you'd be able to move him on with ease. What's Eze's wages? Couldn't tell you. Quick Google will tell you probably though. Bear in mind that guys, we're back in training this couple of weeks. We should have at least one new player in the door by now. Technically, we have 2. Kevin Dancer and Matisse Tell. I wonder if anyone can recognise that I was joking there. If someone wants to join us, just get him way better than anyone else. Rashford's 350, Sancho 300, Casemiro 300, many players. Yeah. I mean, look, Sancho refused to the Chelsea move because Chelsea were only willing him to paying about 130 grand a week. He was unwilling to take that pay cut. So he'd rather sit on the bench at Man United or, in the end up going to, whatever he's going to end up doing, I don't know. Why hasn't Romano said anything about us? Because nothing to say about. Palhinha coming in can help grow his development as he has no one to learn from at the moment. 2 or 3 years and get rid of and make great at that top 6 in the team. Yeah, but can you get rid of him in 2 or 3 years? What does that deal look like? What does that contract length look like? I can see, unfortunately, things like you move off a player a year too early than a year too late. This feels like we're going for a player at least a year too late. Like I said, he's going to be 30. He's going to be 30. It just feels wrong. You know what I mean? It just feels wrong. I just making out 2 signs on the final day, and there'll be players we have to Google. Get Rashford and Oliver Skip. Jesus Christ. Eberechi Eze, a Crystal Palace midfielder, earns roughly a weekly wage of 100 grand a week. There you go. There you go. So yeah, he'd get a pay rise at Spurs. I'd say what, 150 at Spurs, something like that. Get Jordan Henderson as number 8. Hendo might. Is Hendo going to come back to Sunderland? I thought that was going to be happening. But look, on bring back Tanganga club trained to play centre back and fullback. Oh, yeah, that won't be happening. We won't be doing that. That's why Kyle Walker-Peters, there's interest there, because he's free. He's free and he's academy trained. And the amount of people that go, oh, big teams wouldn't do this. It's like, yeah, because big teams actually bring through quality in their academies. Like, that's the key thing here. You know, Liverpool brought through a Trent in the last sort of, you know, think about in the last 10 years, how like Chelsea, for example, Chelsea's like top youth is littered across the top 5 leagues in the world, right? Think about, you know, Liverpool bringing through their players. A lot of these academy trained players, right? They've been brought through. Think of Man City. Chelsea's best player is Man City's youth academy player. But, you know, you think of Phil Foden, Rico Lewis is coming through, Simpson Pusey's coming through. They're all bringing through, like, their youth. I mean, Arsenal brought through theirs as well. We haven't in the last 10 years brought through quality. Right, am I back? I think I'm back. Right, I'm live. I'm back. Right, sorry about that. Don't know. It must have cut out for just a second because when I went to refresh the stream, it was like, you have excellent connection. I'm like, right, okay. Apologies for that. Morning, Richard. How are you? See what happens when someone suggests we bring Skip back. But no, on Skip, right? Like that in Winks, the only two that we've really brought through. So when you only have right now one guy in the squad who's deemed a European academy trained player, and they want you to have 4, you can see there's an issue. You can. And it's going to take a little while for some of those youth players you have right now that you might really rate. It's going to take a little while for those guys to be deemed academy trained in European football's eyes. So therefore, having a guy who's a solid pro, like he's not going to take Pedro Porro's spot or Desi Doggy's spot. I think you have to do this deal. I think you have to do the Kyle Walker-Peters deal. And yeah, maybe it's not the sexy deal. And I know maybe like, you know, people get annoyed like, oh, you know, big teams aren't doing this there because big teams are better with their youth. That's kind of the big thing that we, you know, and it's, obviously I'm not going to put it as much on Johan Lang because obviously he's just come here. But, Prash had to do a lot of work to rebuild the academy. You know, he could have done more about bringing in some youth players at the time. But, before that, the academy was crap. Absolutely crap. So you need to obviously be bringing through quality, which obviously we haven't. So that's why I think it makes sense. You know what I mean? Levy's cutting Andy's cable again. Jamie Donnelly and Marcus Evans can fill the youth thing. No, they can't. Well, Marcus Evans can. Jamie Donnelly can't. And Marcus Evans is not coming here. I think the rule is bad for European football because if the rule wouldn't exist, there would probably more quality. Yeah, but at the same time, that interesting. They want obviously to promote academy football. That's why it's more sustainable. Teams with financial issues, it's more sustainable to bring through the youth. How is Levy not prepared for this headache in Europe? Surely they knew. Yeah, well, it's not about them knowing. It's about, and this isn't like I said, it's not a Johan Lang problem because obviously he's only been here 3 windows. It takes time to do these things, but the youth that are coming through, there's some exciting talent, but they're going to need multiple years to be deemed academy trained. So Even though I know they're coming from the academy and technically they are academy trained, but in European football's eyes, they're not deemed academy trained. Do you believe that Frank doesn't fancy Odebear? Where's that come from? Should we keep Mikey Moore around for a couple of years if we academy train? Like, it depends. Look, with any youth player, it depends on if I think they'll all get. I think for the most part, they'll all get a chance in pre-season. But it will be interesting to see. It really be interesting to see, on really if Thomas Frank's going to give them enough minutes necessary. You know, on on like Donley and things like that. I know that there's a link that Sheffield United are linked to. Is it Phillips and Devine? So I think we have, when we do this season, obviously you might be new here, and if you are, welcome. But if you aren't someone that watches maybe more frequently, we obviously every Tuesday in the season do a loan roundup of all the players out on loan, good, bad, or ugly. That's the rules, and there's, great ones like Man or Solomon last year who's having a good loan spell, and there's ones that are a bit poor, like Valise. The idea is to get them good quality loans, especially if you can get them in the Championship, good quality loans. Spurs seem to do all right in the Championship with their loan deals, barring Lancashire mostly, and Scarlet the year before. Striker-wise, we've not done well with striker loans, but Solomon, obviously Roden with Leeds, both doing very well. You know what I mean? I see Mikey Moore going off to West Brom. Yeah, there's this chatter that Spurs are going to loan loads of players to West Brom. Just wait and see on that. He's obviously Mason's obviously going to be new there anyway, so he's going to need time to, work out what he has in the squad and what he's doing. But Donley, Keeley, Phillips may go out on loan. I don't know. It'd be interesting with Phillips because that would have been 6 months at Plymouth, a year then at Stoke. He has to get a really solid Championship move or a really solid move away into a top 5 league because these relegation battle loan moves just aren't going to be doing anything for him anymore. Harry Kane can fill the home quota. Harry Kane would have counted, yes. For competition season, he will need rotation. Frank will actually rotate players. I don't, by the way, on Ange, I don't think, and we're not talking about him going forward. I don't think he had the squad necessary to give proper rotation. There'd have been players that he could have done, but I don't think he had the players there. A bunch of 18-year-olds consistently on the bench. Obviously, doesn't help when you have injuries literally the whole season. But Frank will need to rotate. And the irony is Frank will need to rotate. He's playing 3 times a week at times. He will need to rotate, and let's see if he can do it. Obviously, we haven't really got any idea if he can or not. Let's just see if he can do it. Hopefully, he can. Will Vuskovic get a chance, or will he go on loan? He might go on loan. There's talk that the Bundesliga want him, but it depends on pre-season. Any question that you have on youth players, I can answer it with. It depends how they do in pre-season, because if they have a good pre-season, they might end up staying because Frank will realize that he might be able to use them. Do you think they'll have to bring back Kyle Walker-Peters? I think they might. I do. I think they're looking to see if they can do business in other areas. But yeah, I think Kyle Walker-Peters is on the list of players they might get. Would send Valise to a Championship side to rediscover his form. He's a true talent who suits Frank due to his aerial quality. Where's that? I like Spence. I think Spence we preferred over Porro. No. Right. Let's stop this Pedro Porro slander. Pedro Porro was one of our best players last season. You mean Thomas Frank talked about him in a post-game press conference when we played against them, when we had Archie Gray and Ben Davies at centre-back, and he was like, Pedro Porro, is like Trent. Very good player. Porro is not getting dropped. Porro is one of the first names on the team sheet still, And I like Spence. And the ability now that you have is you go, we got Porro, we got Spence. We'll be able to rotate. We'll be able to use, both of them a bit more frequently. And the beautiful thing is with that is, Desi Adogi. I think Desi Adogi's in for not a bounce back season, because I think he struggled, Destiny, due to the big quad surgery, the no preseason, back into football. He got better as the year went on because he started to get fit. He started to find his form. Obviously, he had an injury in the winter period as well. That last part of the season, Destiny was fantastic. But wouldn't it be nice to not have to play Destiny Doggy 3 times a week? Sign a left back, by the way. Say it now. I'll keep saying it. Spurs. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Spurs. You're watching me. Sign left back. But the ability would be nice to not have these boys playing 3 times a week. You do that, they stay fitter, their quality stays higher, everyone wins. Everyone wins. The whole back line picks itself. It does until we have 12 injuries. We all thought Spence would go before preseason. I think we'll hold on to Vuskovic. I watched him play well on the TV. He's already a beast. Let's see on Luka. Let's see. The Belgian league is a good league. The Premier League is a different beast. May as well have one less in the squad and not sign back Walker Peters. I don't know. I don't think he's that bad, Walker Peters. I think as well, it's the irony is if you're playing a better team, you would hope that you're not having to do as much defending at times and things like that. And, you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. Left back Ireland. It's literally my nightmare. We're going to place Andy on a deserted island where there's goalkeepers and centre backs and right backs and midfielders and attackers, but there's no left backs. It's just hell. I'm in hell. I'm in absolute hell. I didn't even play. I'm acting like that was my position when I played football. I didn't play left back. I played literally the furthest away from left back. I just like left backs. You know what I mean? It's like a weird thing for me. I just like left backs. Finally, Spurs YouTube channel called it completely correct on Destiny's season just gone. I still think Destiny Doggy's a wonderful left back. Should start for Italy and over DiMarco, in my opinion, because DiMarco cannot defend. He couldn't defend to save his life. Just putting it out there, he can't. Isaacson is being linked as a news story. If you've already spoke about it, Reese. No, really quickly on Eze. Paul O'Keefe's saying that the deal, obviously, still 68 million on his release clause, but it could be broken down into 3 installments, so more affordable basically. It can be spread out across 3 installments. So instead of paying, 50 million up front, you just pay 60. Instead of paying like 50 million of the 60 in one hit, it's 20 million a go, basically. That makes sense, Reese. It's a really short version of that news, but yeah. We can't keep up against players that have never played in England. Who are we talking about? Calimendo's deal's gone quiet. It has. Yeah, it definitely has. Right winger. What about right winger, Steve? Jesus Christ, I was fans delusional. I think you can get a Camavinga 42 million. You might Camavinga, but it might be like his brother or something. It won't be. The man that plays for Real Madrid. Sean super chat. Cheers for some sense inside Spurs. I haven't got a drink again. I've not got a drink with me. I've left my summer fruit squash downstairs. Adventurous as well. I've left my summer fruit squash downstairs. Apologies. But Sean, legend for the super chat, mate. Absolutely legend for the super chat. Could we see Porro right wing now? No. If you had to choose Simmons or Eze, I'm sitting here as Simmons. I'm just sitting here Simmons. It's Simmons' upside is just ridiculous. Like if he reaches his potential, he's a guy that could fight for Ballon d'Ors. That's his potential, right? It's just would he get there? Whereas with Eze, you're going to get a really good player. Do you know what? I'll have both. Eze and Simmons in Basuma and Werner out. Give Donnelly Divine genuine chances in pre-season. I think all youth will get a chance pre-season, mate. Vuskovic, all right, sorry. Yeah. Give a double thumbs up instead. Welcome to the MacBook where it just does crazy things. By the way, in an interview, I actually, I held up like this, and it held like it looked like I was holding up a thumb up to the MacBook, and I'm there, and I'm talking away with people who are trying to hire me, and I'm talking away, and my hand's going like this, and it looks like a thumb up. The MacBook just gives a thumbs up, and you can see the interview just go. I'm like, sorry, I'm on a MacBook, and they're like, didn't realize MacBooks did that, and I'm like, you know nothing. You know nothing. Some fruit squash emergency. It is emergency. It's downstairs. It's getting warm. Perfect side. Paolo Maldini, Roberto Carlos, Marcello, along Davies. No, not Hernandez. Get Hernandez out of there. Our season like last year, so I'm presumably going, we need 2 top signings as a minimum, plus a striker to rotate, 4th forward, plus someone better in the midfield than what we have. Busy summer for you then. Eze home, yeah. Simmons is like upside. Simmons is upside is off the screen. It's all out there. Like it's ridiculous his ability. There's always that risk, isn't it? It's always that risk. What is it that Thomas Frank said? He said, if you don't take a risk, that's a risk. Isn't it? Something like that. Move Poro right wing. No. Simmons right back. Fantastic quality. iPhone does it as well. There we go. Oh, sorry. No, I just don't want Hernandez. That's all. I just don't rate Hernandez. What's your thoughts on the England football team? Under 21s won yesterday. Under 21s won yesterday, beating Spain. We're really good actually. Under 21s. The men's national football team. We're not winning the World Cup. That's for sure. We should get both. Absolutely should get both. But yeah, we'll sort of see on that. Right. Any more news to bring you? Adel Tarab just popped up on my feed. There you go. Apparently, Mark Guay is ready to see out the last year of his contract. If the right move doesn't materialise this summer, targeted by Liverpool and Newcastle. And yeah, that's from Jacob Steinberg. Yeah, I don't think we're getting Mark Guay anyway, so I'm just kind of skipping by that. I'm holding a pair of socks, by the way. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll fidget. I always fidget. I was fidgeting with a button earlier. I can't just sit still. Could we see another big loss on top of Son, Kulusevski, Porro, Madison? Well, Kulu, Porro, Madders won't be going. Son, obviously, you never know, but those 3 won't be going. What's that? Is Michael Moore's injury? Then actually, I've not really been on Twitter the last few days because of I've been so busy with the new job. I've not really been online. Gange is the England manager. What other left backs don't you like, and which one will Tottenham buy? I swear to God, if Tottenham bought a left back I didn't like, that might be my worst nightmare. The fact they don't buy a left back is already a nightmare. They buy one that I really don't like. It's just literally the worst nightmare. The England national just done at Spurs. Southgate. I didn't like Southgate though. I don't think many fans did. You think Romero stay? Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but it was at Romano, and he just reckons Spurs are going to ask for too much, and teams won't want to give that money up. I mean, the way I look at it is sell him in a year and get 40 million. The issue was Atleti going, we'll offer you 38 million for him, and then Jarell Quansah gets sold to Leverkusen for around 40 million. Spurs go, so you think he's the same level as that? Okay. It just looks like Atleti don't want Romero. They say they do, but they go such a weird way about it. Oh, Simeone's talking to Romero every day. That's nice. I talk to my dog every day. It means nothing. You can buy his left foot 40 million. I don't even think they could afford that. I don't think they can afford that. Also, you could play in a back line with Luca Digne, Longley, Romero, and Marcus Llorente, or Desi Adogi, Mickey van der Ven, and Pedro Porro. Oh, come on. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? Play with the good players. I've seen Longley at Spurs. I've seen it. You should compare to Romero to your dog. Well, covers good ground, lots of energy. Can't say some of the other things, but and I like him. I like him. So there you go. That is comparison. Occasionally bites. He'll clatter you occasionally. I will say that. He'll clatter you occasionally. Steve, Jesus, mate. No, he's probably knowing him. He's probably asleep right now. Not Romero, my dog. But we'll sort of see. Look, thank you so much for joining me this morning. You're absolute bloody legends. It's 11:06 in the morning. It's 140 people watching me. You're absolute legends, by the way. All one of you. Please go and enjoy the rest of your mornings, the rest of your afternoons, your evenings, wherever you are in the world. Look after yourself. Please stay safe. And back tomorrow evening. Talk a lot more about Tottenham, hopefully. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you then. Peace.